How are things going?
I'm doing pretty good. You know,
Where you
doing
living?
appearances here, and
Were you in North Carolina now?
um, I moved out of there in 2012 and went to St. Pete, Clearwater, Florida,
Nice.
and I was there up until mm, I'm in a town called Louisville, which is right outside of Knoxville, Tennessee, and I was down there in Florida, and about 8 years ago, doing a like it was a fanboy convention up here in Knoxville. It's like a Comic Con,
Yeah.
and met my wife, and so we were down there for a couple of years, and then in 2019, bought the house that I'm in now.
Very nice. Very nice.
I got a dip in my lip, but I'll get rid of that when we start the show.
You don't have to. It's all good. So, do you mind if I call you Mr. Steamboat, or is that too?
I'd rather have you call me Rick.
You got it. Whatever you need me to call it. That's
You
great.
know,
I really
and
do
and I'm sorry,
appreciate you coming on. Means a lot to
and
me.
I'm
It means
sorry.
a lot to the show.
Your name? Your
I'm
name
Mike
again?
Monty. So the show's name is Monte the Pharaoh. My
Yeah.
partner, we would do, we did this show for shits and giggles, right? We're older guys, right? I'm 56, he's 55, and then the show started taking off. So it's a little side fun, little side hustle. We get to meet guys in studio like yourself, and get to speak to some of the guys that started our lives off. Not that we're pretty close in age. I think we're off by like 8 years or whatever. But anyway, the point is,
I'm I I'll be 71 in February.
I wouldn't even know it. I thought you were like 67 or 66. Holy cow, man! Congratulations. What do
Thank
you
you. Yeah.
do?
What do you mean? What do I do?
Like, what do you
I
do
mean,
to keep yourself in such great shape?
well, I was never into sweets or pies or candy until I met my wife, and then got introduced more into that. So I had to back off on some other stuff, just watching calories. But you know, up until maybe I'm going to say maybe a month or so ago, where my shoulders started to bother me, I was still working out 3 times a week. We got a couple of bikes. We live in a large neighborhood, and we have a bike route around the neighborhood, and it's about 5 miles. So we, up until when the weather got cooler and colder, um, I would ride the bike maybe 3 or 4 times a week. But my wife was religious, and she would ride it 5, 6, 7 times a week. So working out 3 times a week and then ride the bike 5 or 6 times a week. That's what's done it. But for the past month, things have slowed down.
Okay. And what kind of diet do you do? Like, you vegetables, limited diet? Like, what do you do?
Well, I'm a guy. I like almost everything. So I try to eat more in terms of lower amounts,
Mm.
smaller amounts, which allows me to, even though I'll have times in which I pick and choose, but eating smaller amounts allows me to eat pretty much what I want to eat. So, um, I got a taste bud for everything, so I just cut back on the quantity, you
I
know,
gotcha.
and that's helped me out. I weigh about 225. My wrestling weight was 230. So,
And what are you,
you
like,
know,
6'2", 6'3"?
no, 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 no. I'm 5'11.
Okay. Wow. And you maintain that weight all the way through. That's pretty damn good, Rick. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, I weighed customarily when I was working in the ring, generally between 228 and 232, and maintained that weight for, I was 2 months shy of 20 years of being in the business. So for almost 20 years, I stayed around 230.
That's
And
great.
then when I got out, the older you get, you drop your muscle and you gain body fat. So that's when I really started to had to change things around in quantity. I mean, I could sit down and eat a dinner, but I've backed way off. You know, I get a nice steak. I get a nice steak on. I only eat half the steak.
Okay.
You know, and save the rest for another dinner.
And how many times a day do you eat? Like 4 or 5, or just 3?
Basically 3. You know, with maybe a protein bar or something in between.
Okay.
You know, yeah.
My testosterone level like dropped once I got
mine too.
Yeah, so I'm on. Yeah. My doctor gave me like a once a week shot, and it's like it's not a lot. It's like 50 milligrams, but I mean you definitely. It's been a world of change. I mean, my test levels now are normal. I feel much better, so it is pretty good. It's not too bad.
Do you know what levels you are maintaining?
Well,
in testosterone?
I was under 100 at one point.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And now I'm about 450 to like 520.
Yeah. Yeah. I take a shot once a week. And I'm around that between the 500 and 600 range.
Yeah. Wow.
So
good.
And I could tell the difference, you know, when I found out that testosterone was way down, and then start. You know, I've been probably doing the shot now for, oh God, maybe about 10 years. Yeah.
And you've had no effects from it at all?
No side effects. I get my blood tested every 6 months.
Okay, good.
And that, you know, that's checking all the levels for anything with cancers or, you know, blood, you know, anything in the blood, or, you know, liver, kidneys. So, and everything. The doctor can't believe. He said, man, he says, everything is right on point. So
that's great. And how's your mind working? You feel clear, everything like that?
Well, you know, memory's not as good as it was.
Which is only natural, by the way, right?
Yeah. The nugget's been knocked around a few times, so you know, I'm really hard on myself about that, because, you know, when you get involved with a match, and I know we'll talk about matches, and there's so many steps in it, and there's so many things to remember, and you have to be on the fly, spot on with your partner, and both of you on the same page. And I always took a lot of pride in being able to remember A through Z, 1 through 100 in the match. Because, you know, several times in the course of the match, the other guy's saying, Ricky, what do we do? Where are we? You know, don't get me wrong. I've had brain farts, you know, flatline. But I took a lot of pride in being able to remember pretty much everything that needed to be done. And but, you know, as of late, I think the biggest problem I have now is remembering names. Mm. I can meet like a neighbor. We got a pretty big development, and houses here are spaced out anywhere from 1.5 acres to 3-4 acres per house. So there's a lot of room in between, and the property is pretty vast. Like I said, you can take your bike and ride 5 miles around the neighborhood. And sometimes you meet somebody and you introduce in a name and you talk for a minute, but then you don't see the guy for the next month and you don't remember his name. I don't. And then we introduce again. And then I may not see the guy for 2 or 3 months and have to introduce again. So unless I get to see somebody on a daily basis on a name level, that's about the best way I can remember the name. You know, but names to me, it seemed to be my biggest problem. Other than that, I'm okay.
I think sometimes, like with me, I've got so much going on, like with my real life and my regular job, and then, you know, obviously life in itself. It's like I struggle with names too. I I limit myself of what I can remember. Like I purposely try not to fill my mind with too much stuff. It just becomes overwhelming, as stupid as that might sound.
No, no, I hear you. It's sometimes when you're talking to somebody, like it's a nice neighborhood, it's gated and everything, and you got people that are up there in whatever skill set or career that they've had, and they want to sort of try and talk above your head. Doctors, or, right? So I kind of nip it in the bud right there and just say, hey, just talk to me in blue collar stuff. Yeah, you don't have to tell me words that have got 27 letters in them.
That's pretty funny.
You know.
You know what? It's funny you bring that up because I was saying to my wife the
you-
other day, I've got to start reading the dictionary more. I've got to expand my vocabulary a bit. It's
My
like
my wife tells me that I have my own dictionary. Yeah, I mean, she gets off on gets a big kick out of how sometimes I pronounce words, and it's kind of close, and you pretty much get the idea of the word that I'm talking about. But I may throw a vowel in there, or it might have another syllable, and she just really cracks. She's really on top of pronunciation, the way things are written, and the way it should be done correctly. I mean, each I is dotted, T's crossed. You don't need a comma here. You can take the word "and" out of here. I mean, she worked. She's from Oak Ridge, right outside of Knoxville. She's 10 years younger. She's 60, but she worked at Y12. Are you familiar with Y12 here in Oak Ridge?
I am not.
Y12 is a nuke plant that built the bombs that dropped on Japan. So she worked there 22 years. And she didn't start off in this department, but she finished off, she worked in labs. And she had to wear radiation suits and taking blood from a lot of the people that were around those type of isolated areas and measuring radiation. And so, she's got a pretty good head on her shoulders to work at the nuke plant for 22 years.
And you met her at one of the cons, you said? Is that how you met her?
Yeah, the one in Knoxville, they call it Fanboy. And it's just like a Comic Con. There'll be wrestlers there and football players and TV people and soap opera people and movie. It's a big deal. And I was living in St. Pete, Florida when I have an agent guy, and God, I've known him for 35 years, and he just said, "Hey, I got you booked in Knoxville, for convention signing." And I was up there, and my gig was it was like on a Saturday, and it's from my table was from like 11 to 3, and then we would gather up my stuff, my banners and photos and all that, and then another celebrity would take that table at 3:00. So we were finishing up. It was about 2:45, and we were getting ready to box some of the stuff up. And Sandy, my wife, walked by with a girlfriend, and she went with her girlfriend just to keep her company, because her girlfriend wanted to get a autograph from I think it's from one of the Backstreet Boys. And I've done hundreds and hundreds of these type of signings, and I just saw the back of her, and I just yelled out into the crowd. I said, "Hey, are you with them?" And she turned around and looked over at me, and then looked back out the crowd, and then looked back over at me, and then walked off shaking her head like, who is that guy? And so her girlfriend, Susan, said, did you not know who that was? She said, no. I said, he was putting pictures in boxes and taking down a banner. He looked like he's part of the help. And she said, no, he's one of those celebrity wrestlers. That he was a pro wrestler. And if it wasn't for Susan, she convinced Sandy, hey, come on, let's go back to his table. And they did come back, and I signed a picture for her. And then they left again, and we were walking out of the building, and my agent guy, his name's Tony Hunter, was taking me to the Knoxville airport, and I was flying back to Florida. And I grabbed a piece of paper and I wrote my number down, and I went back out into the crowd. You know, there's probably like 2,000 people walking around in this place. And I found her, and I tapped her on the shoulder, and she turned around, and I gave her my number, and I said, shoot me a text. Just out of the blue, you know. I didn't say, give me a call. I said, shoot me a text.
Right.
So I was on my way to the airport, my phone buzzed. I didn't recognize the number, but it said, okay, now that you've got my number, don't be a stranger. And I texted her back, and I said, I'll give you a buzz when I land. So for about 2 weeks, we just kept sending text messages back and forth. And then finally, after 2 weeks, I said, do you not think we ought to at least talk on the phone? Because I'm just a two-finger text guy.
Right.
You know, think. You know, I have a hard time getting out 3 words. So she texted back. She said, okay. And as soon as I saw that, I called her up. And I go, hey, how you doing? And so she says, so it's really you. And I was taken back, and I said, yeah, we've been texting for 2 weeks. Why do you say that?
Right.
Well, my girlfriends had a bet, and they all thought that you gave a number from maybe one of your guy friends, and they were betting to see how long you could string me along with these phony text messages. And I said, no, it's been me for the past 2 weeks. So we started talking on the phone. And then whenever I got a break on the weekend, you know, I was hopping on a plane and flying up to Knoxville to visit with her.
Wow. So you knew something was up there then, right? You were smitten.
You know, talking on the phone for a while, and then getting to, you know, a little bit of, got a great personality. She got a great laugh, you know. So I invited her. I said, all right, I've come up and visit with you. You need to come down to Florida and visit with me. So when I got a break in the weekend, I flew her down. And then we started this thing of flying back and forth for a year.
Wow.
I would fly to Knoxville, or she'd fly down to St. Pete. And so after about a year, I said, you know, this is getting kind of ridiculous, you know, this type of long distance relationship, you know, this, I said, what would you think on moving down to Florida? First words out of her mouth was, she said, I thought you'd never ask.
Wow.
So I thought that was pretty cool. But, you know, my wife was big into rescues. So at the time, she had 9 cats and 2 dogs. And I knew this after the first date. The second date. It was the second date. Yeah, she had a townhouse, and she was big into rescues. She loved animals. And so after that year, and I finally asked her to come down to Florida, so I took a room in my house, and I made it what I called the kitty cat room. So we put these cat condos and runways and catwalks, and, you know, and she had 2 dogs, and one was a little Chihuahua mix, and the other one, I don't know if you're familiar with the Sheltie.
Mm-hmm. I am.
They're like a miniature Lassie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so and then it got to I'd let 1 or 2 of the cats come in the house, and then the cat would go back to the kitty cat room, and then, you know, So it'll be a rotation. And then I never was a cat guy. I had a few dogs in my life, but then I got fond of a couple of cats. One's a black and white. His name's Rascal, and he's the alpha male of the group. But he's a good guy. You know, he sort of watches over everybody, but he's not a bully. You know, when it comes time to feed, and we put down like 6 bowls, and the cats go running to the bowls to go eat. He sits back in the distance, and he makes sure everybody eats, and then he goes and eats. He could very easily just walk up and give one a look, and that cat would cower down. I've seen it happen, and he could take the bowl, but he waits until everybody else eats, and then he'll go get his. He's really It's funny how I never thought cats could be so companionship labeled, you know, but if I go out on a trip for a weekend signing, and when I come home and I call his name, that son of a gun is running all over the house looking for me.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really kind of cool.
My wife volunteered at
right
a shelter for like 14 years. Oh, there's your cat. Love it.
That's him there.
Oh.
He's a big guy. He's about 18 pounds. Big for a cat.
Aren't animals the best, man?
Yeah. So, you know, here's a picture of me with my lizard that I had carried out to the ring with Jake the Snake Roberts.
You didn't have that at your house, though, did you?
No.
Sir?
Ah.
Manscaped?
Uh-huh.
You know, have you tried the new equipment that's been sent?
I'm afraid because it says weed whacker. I'm scared.
Maven, Manscaped, what are you thinking about
Love it.
Manscaped, dude?
Love it.
What do you use it for?
Necessity. What don't I use it for? Put it this way. The only hair I have on my entire body is these eyebrows.
Yeah.
That you see. These caterpillars racing to the middle of my nose. That's it.
That is it.
That's all I have. And that's all I want.
That's the
So
big-
Manscaped is a must.
We were talking before the show. There's nothing worse than just hair.
Yeah.
Right? Hair on a woman, hair on a man. It's just bad.
Absolutely. And it's the one thing that the older I get, it starts growing more in unwanted areas.
Absolutely.
I hate it.
I'm going to ask you a question.
Uh-oh.
Just going to go out there.
Oh, boy.
Go for it.
You're doing a deed.
Yes.
Again, I don't want you to have to admit this because as men, we try not to admit this, but if you're going to go do the deed on a woman,
I know
would
where
you
he's
rather
going.
have her be hairless or a little hair, racing stripe, or
Racing stripe.
full retro bush?
Racing stripe.
Retro Bush is out.
Yes, thank you.
Retro Bush is out.
Yeah.
I don't mind a small, well manicured landing strip. Every now and then, if it's completely, and I'm talking like baby's ass bald, then I start. Where is that pedophilia line? I don't want to
Wow.
wander into that.
That's
thought
very
of it like
interesting.
that.
I never thought about that. You're a
Wow.
smart dude. Holy shit.
So if the landing strip is clean enough for the plane to go in smoothly, you're cool with that?
If the landing strip has, like I said, well manicured,
Yeah,
you can see both sides. It's not
Like blinking lights on both sides of that
I
landing?
just don't. I don't want. I don't want the shrubbery going off into unwanted areas on that as well.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Oh, look
but-
what you found. Ooh.
I got to be all honest though. Hey, the older I get though, I don't think I can be as
I found it! I found
have
it!
you ever gone down there and she slowly brings down the underwear? Then
What is
retro? Just,
Absolutely.
You're like, whoa.
Wow,
Yeah,
like,
I'm
like
46,
it
of
pops
course.
out?
Do you like walk out or what do you do?
No, I muster through. I muster up the courage to get
He's a
through.
trooper. He's a trooper. Gotta give him an A.
Not all heroes wear capes.
Yeah,
There you go.
I hear you.
There you
Listen,
go.
I couldn't
Super
say.
Bush.
I couldn't say. Well, if you have the same beliefs as Maven does, Manscaped could help you.
Absolutely.
The weed whacker.
Absolutely.
What are you thinking?
I'm thinking that I may have to, go in a room, close the door, and hang out with the weed whacker for a little while.
Yeah, I think you're a retro guy, aren't you?
I like 70s adult films, if that's what you're getting at.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
but
only
with that,
Ron
we're going to take a
Jeremy,
quick
Batman.
commercial break, and we'll be
Anyway.
back with this wrestling icon, Maven.
We will see you in a drop kick second.
Drop kick.